Magic has existed for a long time in lots of different forms. But what would a newcomer need in order to unlock the mysteries of magic? And what would this magic look like? If you don't know me, my name is Lily. I am an artist who creates characters and world-building projects. And today I wanted to design my own magic starter kit that evolves over time, helping any beginner become a master of the arcane. But how would I use this power for myself? Magic becoming stronger as the wielder gains more experience is already a typical part of most magic systems, particularly in video games as you level up. The concept is not new, but the way it is designed could open up some interesting ideas. As usual, I am going to be borrowing inspiration from popular fantasy media, in particular Witch Hat Atelier, a very famous manga which has probably one of my favourite magic systems. The biggest aspect of this starter kit is that it evolves with the user. This means that items are in their most basic form since I am just a humble little beginner. I'm going a classic route for this with a spellbook and staff. You could argue it's a little too classic, but I plan on putting my own spin on it. These two items are the most important parts of my magic journey as they are literally tied to my soul. Every magician gets their own book and staff, no more, no less. Because they are in their beginning stage, they start out as a plain empty notebook and a stick. Okay, I didn't think it would be that basic, it's even still got a leaf on it. So these two will be the most important items to me, and their appearance will shift and change as I gain more experience. But I need to talk more about how this magic even functions. This is a system where the wielder can design their own spells through purposeful visualization. You use the spellbook as a home for the spell to reside, and you use the staff to channel the spell. It sounds simple enough, but this does open up a lot of questions. Does this mean you can just make any spell and then use it anytime you like? Well, not really, since one of the biggest limitations to this system is that you only get one spellbook. A spellbook which has a finite number of pages, and the spells have to fit on these pages in order to be used. The bigger or more complex the spell, the more space it takes up in a spellbook. So in theory, yes, you can make any spell you like, since this magic draws on the wielder's ability to visualize what they want. However, if you want a big, complex spell, say one that can manipulate oceans or tear the earth wide open, then that would take up most of your pages, leaving little room for much else. And attempting to visualize spells such as resurrecting the dead, ones which would require a permanent change in nature, they're pretty much impossible as that spell would never fit any spellbook, even if you are a master at spell design. So how would you even go about designing these spells? The interesting thing about this system is that the spells will be unique to each person since it draws on your own mind. Two or more magic wielders could have a minor healing spell which does the exact same thing, but be visualized in completely different ways. There is no right or wrong way to design these spells. You do need practice though. It is typical for newcomers to take up a lot of pages on their first spell, since they don't know how to effectively downsize even the most basic spell. Don't worry though, as a cool aspect of this spellbook is that you can redraw spells, or add more to an existing one, though this takes considerable time. You can even permanently erase the spell if you really dislike it and start over, but be warned that this takes a lot of time and you won't get the old spell back in the same way as before. That being said, it is important to try and not get too sentimental to your early spells. This process of design doesn't require any physical drawing, you're drawing with your mind. The pages will fill themselves in a way that's suited to your personality. It's recommended to try, visualize, and think about the spell before beginning the process of adding it to the spellbook, as this can help save time. When designing the spell, you've got to think about logistics. Take me for example. At the moment, I'm trying to design a spell that lets me walk on water. Nothing too complicated, should only take up a quarter of the page if I do it right. But there's other stuff I've got to think about. Yes, I can walk on water, but my shoes will get soaked, so I'll need to either add temporary waterproofing to the spell, or make it so I'm slightly levitating above the water. Then I might have underwater creatures hunting me for a quick snack, so I have to make sure I'm protected from those. You don't necessarily have to add these things, it's just little ideas like that that you've got to add to a spell over time, and that starts to make it bigger and bigger. Just because you have the spell drawn down doesn't mean it'll be a success every time. These spells are linked to your mind, it requires strength and visualization. If your heart is not in the spell, especially for bigger ones, then it won't have a good success rate. If you want to be powerful in this type of magic, it will need your undivided attention and loyalty to evolve into something magnificent. As you add more spells to your spellbook, its shape will begin to transform, the same with your staff. The good thing about these items is that you don't have to constantly hold them, they will conveniently follow you around like party members. When you evolve them enough, they'll eventually be able to talk with you, which is pretty neat. They'll know you enough by then to offer advice or discuss tactics. Before I move on, let me just list out some important rules of the starter kit. Every book and staff is tied to your soul. This means only you can use them. Every book has a finite amount of space, and the spells must fit in this space to be cast. The bigger or more powerful the spell, the more space it takes up in the book. Some spells are impossible to cast as they would take up too much space in the spellbook. You cast the spell with your mind, no need to read or perform any specific action. Spells take energy. Bigger spells take more. Rest and recharging will be required between spellcasting sessions. Spells fade over time. For example, if you have a spell to give you wings, this will only last a certain duration, then must be reapplied. You can make the spell bigger to increase duration. Healing spells also fade, but they aren't needed forever. The healing spells simply assist the body in repairing itself and will fade. It's sort of like antibiotics, which help the body fight infection but doesn't stay in your system forever. The same is true for curses. If you cast a curse to, say, turn someone to stone, the curse will eventually fade, even if it is a very big, powerful spell. However, the longer someone is under a curse, especially a more powerful one, the more damage it is doing to the body and vitals. When the curse lifts, the person may experience too much bodily damage even for the strongest healing spells to work. Spells can be put in place to improve chance of life. You can't use anyone else's spellbooks, only your own. Teamwork is possible, but not with breaking down larger spells into smaller parts split across multiple books. But collaboration of your own unique spells could provide interesting results. Your spells and staff will evolve with you. As you get more experienced and your spells develop, your book and staff will morph to match this change. And the books and staffs cannot be destroyed and cannot be claimed. It will disappear with the owner. There would be a lot more rules for this, but this is the main overview I could think of for the time being. So what would I put in my spellbook? Well, I'm a jack of all trades. I like having a selection of spells in my book to use. I'd rather have more but less powerful spells that help me with my day-to-day life and magic. A few of my selected spells would be walking on water, minor healing, having the ability to conjure inventory slots, as well as the ability to conjure portable fire, and lastly, enchant an instrument which when played attracts butterflies. The last one is purely for aesthetic. Sometimes I love a little style over substance, but the rest are pretty handy. Looking at these, I would say inventory slots would be the most expensive one. This is because inventory slots would need to be prolonged, but would be a very easy spell to keep recasting, so it would probably just give me a little less energy. I'd imagine it like in video games when you're carrying something heavy, it has an impact on your stamina bar, a little bit like that. It could be that the more inventory slots I have, or the bigger they are, the more energy it depletes, but the overall spell would need to be big to accommodate for the potential to add extra space. Having a spellbook which runs out of space is probably not a revolutionary concept. I like the idea of designing the spell though, it's very Witch Hat Atelier coded. This still feels a little rough around the edges. I wanted a system which feels like there's endless possibilities, but has limitations in place to make it more interesting. No doubt I've missed some huge plot holes in this system, but let me know what you think and if you would like one of these starter kits for yourself.